Hello and welcome back to another episode of Let Loose with Moose. Today we have the Bera-focused episode. I have Berasearch with me. Hey Sergi, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. It's good to be here and finally get to let loose with Moose. We've been chatting for a while, so it's awesome to be on the pod and yeah, chatting with you today.
Yeah, excited to hear about your story as well as more on Berachain as well. Right, I think you were one of the first few kind of Bera-focused accounts that I reached out to help me understand and get a good grasp of the whole ecosystem. So excited to hear more about you today. Right,
To chat. Yeah, it's good to be good.
right, and let's kick it off with like your crypto origin story. Like, how did you get into crypto, and of course, subsequently, like into Berachain as well?
Yeah, of course. I've been around for a while, so I've kind of was around as a retail person since kind of 2018. Very much the normal story. It came in through Bitcoin and Ethereum, thought that was interesting, and then I think Binance was so BSC was the next chain that kind of sold me on the meme coin mania over there back in the day. Went through kind of DeFi summer, made a little bit of money, lost a bit of money as well. Let's put it that way. Enjoy protocols like Wonderland and that sort of thing. And then, yeah, kind of went my way through and eventually decided that I wanted to work in the industry full time. So I went full time a couple of years ago, worked on a couple of protocols, built out some cool stuff. Was really proud of the previous stuff that I built, really focusing on kind of user experience and trying to make it easier for people to interact and get involved with crypto. And then finished up on my last project kind of end of last year. And I had a friend, I reckon almost 18 months ago now, maybe almost 2 years now. I ran into him and he kind of mentioned this thing. He was like, oh, this Berachain thing looks really interesting. And I remember having a quick look at it back then and going, oh, just pictures of bears on the internet. That doesn't make any sense to me. And so I would kind of was finished at the end of last year and I went, oh, you know what? I'm kind of interested to see what they've been doing because I'm starting to see a bit of them online, starting to hear a bit more noise about them. Let's see what happened, where they've gotten up to. And I remember having a look at the kind of Berachain Twitter, and I was like, okay, they really are ramping up. And I looked in their Discord, and I went, oh, okay, this is really interesting. And from there, that's kind of where the deep dive into Berachain and therefore Berasearch as a bear on the internet was born.
Man, I love that. And you know, it's funny because I had the exact same reaction as you when I first came across Berachain, right? When it was first just a collection of NFTs and like, what is this? Like, Berachain is just this NFT collection and like subsequently two or three other collections. And I think around the same time as well, earlier this year was when I kind of really got more interested into Berachain, and now look where we are.
Yeah, how wrong we were. I definitely, I know that I've met a bunch of people who are like, oh, I could have bought, not bong bears, but I could have bought band bears at, point 0.2 ETH and things like that. And I can't claim to be that sort of fading the bears. I'm not that OG, but I definitely did look at them a while back, and I definitely do mildly regret only looking at them. But
Me too, me too.
hindsight is killer when it comes to crypto.
Yeah, man. Like, I have a friend who's really into NFTs, and he was really on early with the Berachain NFTs collection. I think he has like the entire set, like the rebase set, if I'm not wrong. At least
Oh
like
wow.
one full set and probably a couple extras here and there. And I'm like, man, why didn't I go in with you that time?
Man, he must really like the art.
Yeah, he does, he does. And well, I think it really pays off really well right now, and definitely have my regrets, same as you. But that's all in the past, right? And now we are here trying to do our best on what's coming up in Berachain, right?
100%.
And my next question would then be like, why start this Bera-focused account? You were here since 2018. I'm sure you had another account, or perhaps it was this account that you kind of refreshed and reconstructed it into a Bera-focused account. But I want to hear more on why you decided to come up with this account, just pushing out so much Berachain content on the ecosystem, on the chain itself, even all the Twitter spaces and recordings.
Yeah, so there's a couple of angles in there where, so firstly, this is a fresh account because I wanted to come in and just like try some new stuff. But kind of background pre-crypto and also in crypto, I've always been focused on making things kind of easy to understand, like working in the education space. And so I went, well, I'm going to be learning about this ecosystem. So, end of last year, early this year, I went, okay, I'm going to be deep diving in. I'm going to be learning stuff. Where can I bring value and how can I be doing that from day one? And so I went, okay, well, I think education and explaining things is something that I've got a lot of skill in and something I've been doing for quite a while. And so I went, okay, cool. I'm going to start this account, which is a mixture of like silly Bera posting, but also bringing valued content through in these kind of threads, because I find Twitter really interesting. I think there's lots of silliness on there, but I think that accounts that bring a lot of value, bring a lot of kind of high quality content get noticed and people really appreciate them. I know I've really appreciated them previously, but I wanted to take a slightly different spin on it. And I think being on Testnet was something that gave me a really cool opportunity because it's very just like there's lots of ideas, I guess, and lots of interesting new things being born, which meant that I went, cool, I get to, like, there is a real need for someone to be sitting here and just explaining all of these things that are going on because there are way too many things, even for someone like me who is now terminally online and, works full time in Berachain, trying to get all these things all explained and ready to go. I still have a never ending to do list. So I went, cool, I'm going to start focusing on the one thing and see how that goes. So rather than trying to be, master, what do you call it, a jack of all trades and a master of none, I decided to try and just become a master of Berachain. And I still haven't done that yet, but I'm trying.
Yeah, awesome. I love to see all your content, right? It really helped initially for me when I was so lost and not sure what was out there in Berachain or like what's going on. And it is nice to have this Berachain focus account. And shout out to Yume Shu and the Honey Jar for their ecosystem spreadsheet as well. I think that's a really good
Mm.
resource as well to get started. But yeah, and you mentioned that now you are full time in Berachain, right? So you recently joined Ramen Finance as a BD. So how did that come about?
Yeah, basically off the back of, so firstly, love the Ramen team. I've been following along with them for a while. They did their NFT launch a little while back, the Hungry Bear NFTs, which went really successfully.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was stoked for them. I saw that, and I just remember Paula, who's one of the founders, made a Twitter post saying, "Hey, looking for some BD people, that sort of thing." And I went, you know what? They sound like a cool team. Why don't I give it a try? And so I just slid into his DMs, and we got in a call. And it was just one of those moments where we were both really, I think, vibing and had really similar understandings and expectations of what we wanted to do in the ecosystem, and things really aligned from an overall perspective because Ramen Finance is one of the kind of the main native launchpad on Berachain. So inherently, Ramen is all about finding new projects that want to launch a token and helping them to bootstrap liquidity, helping them to launch that token, helping to get that out there. So it's kind of raising funds, but also building liquidity for your token. So it's all about finding early stage projects, helping advocate them, and helping build them up, and allowing them to go out and do something cool. Because in DeFi, token launches are one of the most complicated things that often are one of the hardest things to do for a founder. So we're looking to kind of pull that difficulty away from them so they can focus on building the cool things. And so as Berasearch, I'm always on the lookout for new projects who are doing interesting things. And Ramen is also on the lookout for new projects who are doing interesting things, especially specifically with tokens. So we felt like there was a really cool alignment there in the way that we were thinking about the ecosystem, the way we wanted to do things. And then, yeah, the rest is history from there.
Awesome. And how are you liking it so far? How long has it been since you last joined Ramen Finance?
I've been on the team for about a month, but we all met up in person in Dubai a couple of weeks back. And that was a bonding experience for sure. we we all went through literally the floods together. So that was good. It's been a month, but it feels much longer thanks to all of that.
Yeah, man. So jealous. Like I wish I was in Dubai for a token.
It was cool, but yeah, I would recommend not going when they have once in a generation floods. It's fantastic apart from that, but yeah, that was not the best tourist experience.
Hey, I think it's a unique experience. Like how many people can say I was in Dubai where and there was a flood, and how often do you see floods in Dubai?
Not too often, not too often. I rains 3 times a year, so there's only 3 opportunities.
Yes, I mean it was a good experience, I hope. I guess not so much for you, but I think it would have been fun for myself. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely a memory.
I mean, now let's move on to Berachain next, right? Like, of
Mm.
course, you're super excited about Berachain, right? Having the whole account dedicated to it and now working in the protocol within Berachain ecosystem yourself. Maybe we could hear from you why you're so excited about Berachain.
Yeah, I think that there's kind of two sides to this, which I think there are two sides to this for almost every kind of chain that's launching. For me, the two things that I'm excited about Berachain for the tech side. So when we're thinking about the tech, I think the proof of liquidity system, where we've reorganized the way that value flows through an ecosystem, is really, really interesting. And I think having kind of validators have been an isolated beast for quite a while. I'm kind of sitting off to the side, providing consensus. So validating the blockchain, saying, yep, that's the next block, has been a really valuable and important resource, but it's been quite isolated. So in the way that proof of liquidity changes that and makes them an active participant in the ecosystem, I think is really interesting and has potential, yeah, to create a quite different dynamic in a good way from a layer one perspective. I think that's really interesting. And then the other side of things, I think, is the thing that Berachain is kind of perhaps more known for at the moment, which is their kind of what like we joke about as kind of the cult creation aspect of it. But I think the community building aspect, I think because Berachain has been building for such a long time from such a small core community, I really like and find interesting the way that the team have built this kind of core community of people who then are kind of the culture setters going on. Because of that, we're seeing a community build out that I think is more collaborative than most layer ones I've ever seen, layer twos that are launching, because people are encouraged to work together rather than against each other. So those are then kind of the tech side of things, and then there's like the culture of Berachain are two things that I think are really interesting, and that's why I wanted to dive in. That's why I spent so much time sitting in the ecosystem at the moment.
Right, right. And then, there's so many protocols and projects launching or coming up on Berachain every day, every week, right? How would you recommend someone to get started with Berachain?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I think if you want to understand the technical side of things, there's one thread that I always give to people by someone on Twitter called Dylan is Crossed. He's written this brilliant visual flow of how the value flow works differently on Berachain. And that I think is a great place to start from a technical perspective. Then I think if you want to just get an overarching overlook at how many things are being built, I always give a shout out to Beraland and the team from Beraland. They're doing a killer job. They just hit 10,000 members in their Discord, I think, which is really cool. And they've been doing an amazing job for like such a long time at kind of helping people enter the Beraland ecosystem, the Berachain ecosystem. So they're amazing. I can't say nicer things about Beraland. And I think the kind of next step to like, I guess, show my own content is I generally point people towards from a technical side. I've got a little series on which I call the 4 Bs of Berachain. So it's explaining the kind of 4 key dApps on Berachain and how they work and how they are involved in that overarching value flow. So explaining how the 3 tokens that make up the main stuff around Berachain, so BGT, Bera, and Honey, how those interact, why they're important, why you should be interested in them. And then I think that kind of gives you so you've kind of got Beraland for, whoa, there's so many things. And then the Dylan is crossed thread, and then my 4 Bs of BGT. I feel like that gives you a baseline to start with. And then Beraland is great. The Honeycast is great. And then you're pretty great too when it comes to content as well. And then, yeah, my own threads as well, I think are the places then if you want to start learning about projects, that's the way to go from there.
Yeah, I think I really agree with all the nominations you gave there, and thank you for the kind words. But yeah, maybe could you share with us some particular things or projects you're excited about in Berachain?
Particular things or projects I'm excited about. I got to get my whole list up. Um, I think so. Like going with one that's like doing some cool stuff that is kind of pretty active right now. The Booger Bearers. I think they're really interesting. They're an NFT project with a bunch of DeFi value sitting in behind the NFT. So you get a whole bunch of value streams just by holding this Booger Bearer. So they're going through a really interesting process at the moment with whitelists for their NFTs. So you have to mint an NFT, which you can then trade to then mint the actual Booger Bearers, which I think is interesting. I haven't really seen many people play around with whitelists in the same way they are. So I've been following along with them. And I find them just super interesting to enjoy the Booger Bearers. I think when I come back to Berachain, I feel like there's the key protocols. So like Kodiak, Infrared, Bera who are these kind of core base layers, who are the stuff that lots of people will build on top of because infrared building a liquid wrapper of VGT is really interesting and enables a lot of DeFi things going on. Kodiak is where all of our trades are going to happen because the BEX is great, but Kodiak will be probably have a more diverse set of kind of things that we can trade on it, which is really interesting. And I'm really keen to see how they work. and then Bera creating kind of another stablecoin, a bunch of leverage lending projects there will be really interesting. So I would say they're like they might be like the base layer. And then if there are projects that I was excited about on top of that, I think I always shout out Pemby and the team at Yeet because I
Yeah,
think
love them.
I think they're some of the best community builders in Berachain. I think they're really cool. I think their game looks fun, but I think just the way they build a place that people have fun is really awesome and really important in crypto. So they're fantastic and they're good. I love Baramonium for being one of about 3 Berachain native projects that is actually live. You can actually go and play Gem Hunters using Baramonium NFTs today, which is pretty cool. Um, I thought something that was cool about them in particular was that they managed to break their game a week ago, and they said it was going to take them 5 days to get it fixed, and I think they fixed it in about 2 days. So they are confirmed can ship fast, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
I mean, I could keep listing, so I want to throw the question back at you because I'll just go through my whole list. What are you particularly excited about? What's something you've got an eye on at the moment?
I mean, and in no way is this because I'm having you on a call, but Ramen is one of them for sure, right? I think they were the earliest teams that I spoke to on Berachain, because of connecting with Noro from Token last year, and we've been speaking on and off.
Mm,
And of course, got to know about Ramen Finance from her, and then actually reached out to Pola as well. So had a chat with Pola and Noro. They were kind of the ones helping me get up to speed on the whole ecosystem as well. I kind of got, I think, from 0 to 1 in the entire Berachain ecosystem, I think within a month or so, or like maybe less than it, like 2 weeks. From completely having no idea what is on Berachain, what it is
mm.
about, what projects are there in DeFi, NFTs, and all, to kind of getting the grasp of the entire thing because of help from the team at Ramen Finance, yourself, and from Yumishu's spreadsheet as well. So really shout out to those guys and yourself. Thank you for that. And why I'm excited about Ramen Finance is because of the launchpad thing, right? Kind of understand how they want to do this, right? And of course, you guys just have the podcast with the Honeycast release last week. So definitely recommend you guys to check that out as well. Right? You kind of explain how things are going to work, how the mechanics are going to work. And of course, they have the Hungry Beras NFTs that are already live and listed on OpenSea on the Arbitrum chain. And holders of those Hungry Beras NFTs would essentially receive the Ramen tokens, which you can lock, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, that you can lock in exchange for allocation for projects launching on the Ramen Finance Launchpad. I got that right?
There's another step in the middle there. So you can lock your ramen tokens for G ramen tokens,
Right.
and the governance token of ramen. And then once you've locked G ramen, you then start earning these points, off-chain points called gacha token or gacha points. We took that off-chain because in lots of launch pads, there's these like really complicated things where you have to, spend gas and sign transactions and things like that. We went, no, let's simplify it. Let's take those points off-chain, and then you spend those points to get allocations. Rather than having to do, sign a transaction every time, spend gas every time you want to commit to trying to get into a launch. Now you
Mm-hmm.
can just click, 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 and there will be points attached to your wallet, but you don't have to do anything on chain in that moment.
Gotcha. And thanks for the clarification right there. And of course, because of the kind of support and like how tight the community is in Berachain, right? I believe a lot of the, I'm not sure if this is like confirmed, right? This is like my pure speculation. I think a lot of the more established and kind of bigger names in Berachain ecosystem would launch their tokens on Ramen Finance. For example, maybe Kodiak Infrared of sorts, right? So that's kind of why I'm quite excited for Ramen as well. I think number two is Yeet, right? Did a episode with Pemby as well, covering Yeet. I think that was quite interesting because prior to that, I thought that it was just like a Ponzi game and it's super dependent on whether there will be enough volume to keep the whole thing going. After speaking with Pemby and understanding how the game mechanics works, it's actually a lot more interesting and there's a lot more to it than just like a simple clicking game, right? So I thought that was pretty interesting. And like you mentioned, he's really good at building communities. It does look pretty cool, right? I quite like the NFTs. I think the third one, which I think is super interesting, is actually Puffpaw, right? Vape to earn. So by the time this goes out, the episode for Puffpaw will be out as well. So check that out. Vape to earn, right? It does sound like the ultimate Ponzi to me. And I am excited for that because you know how many people, or I don't know about you, but like I think in general, most people or like the younger people now right now are vaping a lot, right? And if I could get those vapes and then pass it out to them or to the smokers who are trying to quit smoking to vape those nicotine free and healthy vapes instead while earning tokens, I think that sounds pretty damn cool, right? And I would be really excited to see how that plays out. So Raffo actually gave an example of StepN. He was comparing kind of how StepN was onboarding so many Web2 or like non-crypto people onto crypto just because they could start running and earn tokens and earn money, right? Even though I could be like super unfit, right? Don't like running at all, but because of StepN, some people actually went out to actually, even if they're not running, they start taking walks, and maybe every time I walk I collect maybe 20 USD, 30 USD for example. So well, I would say Pathpaw is a bit different there, but it's a very unique thing where I'm excited to see how that plays out. So I mean, of course, I could go on, but I think these are like the top three most interesting things for me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I feel like I'd been started describing Puffpaw as like a social experiment,
Mm-hmm.
because it comes down to the age-old question of how much money do you have to pay someone to get them to stop smoking nicotine, which I think will be so interesting to see, from just like a social dynamics perspective, let alone all the other stuff that they're doing.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
that's a good point, right? Because so far, everyone who has tried to quit smoking or like wants to quit smoking is doing it primarily for health concerns or like because of the family's members' health, right? Because of the secondhand smoke and all. And now we are actually doing like financial incentives to stop you from smoking. I think that would be pretty strong motivator. I think like if I'm not a smoker and you're gonna pay me like $100 to vape every day, for example, I would do it for sure. Is it gonna sustain? Maybe, maybe not, depending on the tokenomics, but I think it's pretty damn interesting.
yeah, I agree. I think we'll kind of see what happens next year. It's going to be fun. It's fun, thing
Yeah.
number 37 that I'm intrigued to see what's going to happen when they go live on Berachain.
Yeah, super excited for that. I think shout out to IVX and Gumi as well. I think those are two really interesting ones personally. For Gumi, right, they're doing something that's really interesting. I don't think they've announced it yet, but there's definitely more than what you think they're doing. So Gumi is one to really look out for. IVX in short is 0 day to expiry options, kind of like a hybrid between your longer dated options and perps trading. So it would be nice to see how that plays out. They have really cool integrations announced. With good volume, I think they would do pretty well. So yeah, excited for both of them as well.
Back both of them too. They're very cool teams.
Yeah,
Bob is
nice.
like the craziest. Bob at IDX is like the craziest builder I've met. He's one of those people who like you'll say something in front of him, and you'll watch as he disappears because his brain is building a DeFi protocol based off that. It's amazing. He's such a smart guy, but he's always on the hustle, always trying to think of something new. It's really cool.
Yeah, like I chat with him pretty often, and he's always like super busy building something, and he'll disappear for a while, and like, oh yeah, I'm in the midst of this, and then he'll go off and do his thing, and he'll come back like, oh, we added this new feature or integration on IPX, and go and test it out and let me know what you think. Like, and it's like, wow, it's insane. He's one of the hardest workers out there.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of hard workers at Berachain, but Bob is one of the hustlers.
Agreed, agreed. Right. And anything else for me from your side?
I don't think if there's someone that's like cool and fun that I haven't told you about yet.
Go ahead.
Uh, I'm like, what's the alpha here? What's the alpha? Another one that I think is cool, because we haven't really touched on any. I mean, I talked about Baramonium, but on the game side of things, Thrive on Mars, from are building their game called Outpost Surge, which will be coming out on Berachain later in the year. They're doing a really cool, again, also NFT thing. Again, so Booger Bears and Thrive on Mars both partnering with Kingdomly, who I think are fantastic. Ethan, AZ, and the team over there are awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So partnering with Kingdomly to launch a series of free mint NFT collections, which is, I believe, if you manage to get the whole set, you'll be eligible for an airdropped kind of NFT, which you can then use in the Thrive on Mars game when it goes live on Berachain. I think it'll also get you early access to the game too. So if you're a gamer and you like NFTs, it could be a cool combo to you. So Thrive on Mars. I think they've got another thing. I mean, today there's a lot of them. I've been losing track a little bit, but they seem like it's going to be a cool game, kind of card-based strategy game as well. So intrigued to see how that one's going to go too.
Yeah, and for those listening, the podcast with Trevor Mars team or like Outpost Search will be coming out shortly after this episode goes live. So keep an eye for that.
See, there we go. I'm not telling Moose anything anymore now. He's already ahead of the game on these ones.
Yeah, man. I'm coming for your spot, bro.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
only Moose in the land of the Bears.
Yeah, man. Yeah, in your personal opinion, for those who are not yet into the Berachain ecosystem, like they're new to the ecosystem, what is the best way for them to get exposure to Berachain and the ecosystem projects?
I think that really does come down to personal preference. I think like you obviously want to just kind of take into account where you're at, what you're kind of interested in. I think if you, my kind of advice whenever someone comes to me and say, oh, I want exposure for, like, how do I get exposure to this thing? Is there are lots of options. And so you should go and kind of do your research and basically just like figure out what you're interested in, what you think is cool and where you want to kind of invest your time and your interest and maybe your money if you've done like another level of research on top of that. So I tend to go less about like, oh, you should go do this, you should go buy that thing, because I think that's less helpful. I think that means that we end up with people who just kind of follow the crowd and understand less about what they're investing in or kind of just what they're trying to research. So I definitely lean more towards the here are places you could go and educate yourself, and so you can understand the thing and then you can make decisions, which kind of comes back to that overarching thing of Berasearch is about education. So I want people to be able to, I guess my like overarching thesis on exposure is educate yourself first, and then you'll be able to make a better choice on how you want to expose yourself when it comes to, comes to new ecosystems, especially.
Nice. I mean, you went a big round, but basically do your own research, right? I could direct you to some resources, but you gotta decide it on your own. But I get it. I kind of agree because there are like incentivized test nets. There are certain NFT collections here and there, and depends on what you personally like, right? Like for myself, I'm not so much of an NFT person. I'm more into DeFi, which is kind of why I'm so trying to catch up with Berachain. So I'll be leaning more towards covering and learning more about the DeFi protocols myself. So yeah,
Mm.
definitely agree with what you said there. And since we talk about testnet, right? Like, have you been playing around with testnet, or rather, the question would be, what are you playing around with testnet? Because I'm sure you're already on there clicking away.
Yeah, I have been. It's been a little while since I've really dived into the testnet. Have a bunch of tokens sitting in the kind of liquidity side of things. I played the Yeet game on testnet, managed to win that once, which I think is my greatest achievement in the
Nice,
testnet
nice.
of all time. Yeah, I wasn't one of the ones like Jay from Cub Hub who managed to win like more testnet Vera than I've ever seen anywhere else. But I did manage to take home a little bit, which is cool. Um, so then been using that across the kind of main four dApps, so Bex, that sort of thing. I tried a little bit of trading on Kodiak, used WageyBot to make some trades through Kodiak as well, which is cool. They're a Telegram bot that's coming. It will be live on Berachain on day one. They already have testnet plugged in, which is great. So you can actually play around with them on there. Goldilocks is the other one. If you're playing around on the testnet and you want a place to kind of earn more fake testnet Bera, sorry, it's a real testnet Bera, but you get the point where I'm going there. If you want to earn more kind of testnet stuff to play around with rather than just using the faucet, you can swap into your locks tokens using honey over on the Goldilocks and then stake that over there, and that kind of compounds over time. So if that's something that you're interested in, that's one way that you can play around with the testnet. Yeah,
Awesome,
I
awesome,
think that's
nice.
the I think that's my full list of testnet things.
Yeah, nice. I mean, I'm not even on like everything that you mentioned there. I do have to do some catching up with the protocol testnets and click away.
Yeah, we could be clicking for hours, right? There's so many different things
How's the experience been for you so far?
on the testnet.
Mm-hmm.
It was really good at the start. I know it got it like I think it's been like botted to like kind of it's got to the point where the bots are a bit ridiculous. So I haven't been on it for a little while, so I'm not quite sure how it's functioning at the moment, if I was being completely honest. But yeah, I think I know that there's like Smokey and some of the other main accounts in the ecosystem are starting to make some comments about a testnet v2 coming out sometime soonish. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm really holding out for like trying to, basically my thoughts on the testnet is try and keep some stuff floating around on there too. So there's, assets that I can come back and play with when we kind of hit like the testnet is in a happier spot. But for now, yeah, sitting and waiting for that V2 because I think that's going to be where it'll be really viable and a bit of fun to start playing around again with some of the dApps. And I have a hunch that we're going to see a few more. We'll see a few more Berachain native DeFi protocols and things like that um, putting their putting their dApps live on testnet v2 because I think that that's when they'll be able to get some really good opportunities in there to just get their products tested, get users on there, and see how that's going.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing the upgrade push out and have a much smoother experience of playing with Berachain. Right, I think so far it's been
Mm.
okay for me, except when I first got onto the testnet, it doesn't work. Like transactions fail. I have to keep clicking multiple times to get something through. But I think afterwards it was pretty smooth. Like usually the transaction goes through unless like it's breaking for a certain period of like high usage or something. But other than that, I think it should be fine.
Yeah, definitely. I think we're in for a nice test net on V2. And I think all things considered, considering this has been one of the most used test nets ever, I think they've done a pretty good job overall at managing that too.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Right. What else can we expect from the Berasearch account? Like, what else are you planning to put out in the near future?
It's a good question. I'm coming up on 100 threads soon, so be a little bit of a celebration, acknowledgement
Congrats,
of that.
man.
Yeah, that just makes me feel tired when I say that, but it's cool too. It's cool to have gotten there. It's cool to have met so many cool builders and projects in the process of doing that. It's something I'm excited about. I'm thinking a bit more about how I can, what sort of content I want to be putting out going forward. Whether there's any other new interesting things I can, that I can integrate in to kind of create a bit more variation on the account. Looking to revamp my website a bit further down the track too, which I think should be hopefully will be helpful. Looking to do that, you can find my website just on my Twitter bio if that's something you'd be interested in. Yeah, kind of learning a bit more about. Um, I think that's the main thing for me at the moment is I'm just figuring out what sort of content people like, and then I think the kind of big overarching thing is I want to start thinking about how Berasearch can start working with or helping to onboard people a bit more actively into the Berachain ecosystem. So I do a lot of content for people who have already kind of come in and who are already interested. So starting to think a bit more about like, oh well, what communities can I be going to and talking to and saying like, hey, this is like this is really cool. Look at what's happening over here. You should come and learn some more about that. Yeah, that's I think that's my like underlying thing that you might see. Maybe a little bit of change in the way that I make content or some of the things that I talk about. And if you feel that's weird, firstly, tell me. And and secondly, that's probably because I'm starting to try and think about how I can onboard some new people into Bera with the rest of us.
No, I think that sounds great. Looking forward to it. Like, I mean, I'm down if you need help or like if you don't mind, I would join you and help onboard people. I think that sounds amazing.
So there we go. We've got a plan.
Yep. And before we go off, I think I have one final question for you, and it's gonna be a hard one because the question is, give me the top three accounts you would recommend someone to follow regarding Berachain. I know there's a long
Oh,
list, and there's a lot of people that could fit in, but like the top three that it's a
top
must follow.
top three accounts. Oh, that's a very good question. Um, I think I have to say that my top one is probably Smokey,
Mm-hmm.
as in Smokey the Bearer, because he is where just so much content comes out, and he's also just like he's just very funny on Twitter. So I just enjoy. I almost always enjoy reading what he posts. So that's good fun. So I think Smokey would be up there as one of the main ones. Then I mean, obviously, Moose, Crypto Moose is a great account that people should consider following.
Bro, that's
And then
biased,
if
bro.
you
That's biased, right? That's cap. That's cap.
not no bias whatsoever there. That's just my honest opinion. If you want, I'm going to be a bit naughty and go. And there's two other accounts. I would go if you want. in-depth content, Blockmates is slowly but surely releasing hour-long podcasts with Bera projects.
Mm-hmm.
So Blockmates is really good for in-depth Bera content. They also do a bunch of other stuff, but some of the stuff that they're letting out on the in-depth side of things is really good. And if you want an overview on what's going on in the ecosystem, and again, some fun, and also just kind of understand the general vibe of the ecosystem, I think you can't go past the Honey Jar. I think they are fantastic on that front too.
Yeah, love it. Totally support those three accounts. Blogmates are great. Huge inspiration for me as well. Blogmates, I look up to them. Hanija has it's like the community project or like the community go-to, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why I
Awesome.
think they're particularly great
Yeah,
on that front.
I think those are really great nominations there. I think that's all I have for you today. Before we go off, is there anything else that you might want to talk about that we might have missed?
I think that's all from my end. Um, yeah, yeah, I think that's all from me.
Okay, then thank you for coming on, Sergi. Right, for those who are interested to learn more about his account, I would definitely recommend you check out all his threads. He has a Notion page where he has all the projects in the Berachain ecosystem covered, including what they do, what's the mechanics, and even like Twitter Spaces. So do head on there, check out everything, and turn on the notifications and follow Sergi. All the links will be down in the description as usual. So definitely check him out, and we will see you in the next episode.
Thanks so much for having me.
That brings us to the end of this episode. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I did. Before you go, do remember to give us a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button so you never miss a thing. Comment down below what you liked about this episode, who you like me to interview next, or any topics that you want to learn more about. Until next time, this is Moose moving out.